Okay.
It's been revealed that Okada is going to be Tanahashi's last opponent. These are two guys you're very familiar with. I know you've spent a lot of time with Okada in TNA and certainly got to know him a little bit when you were helping behind the scenes with New Japan. I know you've had a long relationship with Tanahashi. We know Tanahashi is on his farewell tour, much like John Cena. We'll talk about Cena here in just a moment. But Wrestle Kingdom is right around the corner. We're less than 2 months away from the New Japan equivalent of WrestleMania. And it's been announced when Okada showed up at a New Japan TV taping last week that he is going to be Tanahashi's final opponent. So this is a big deal because you've got Okada returning to New Japan after 2 years away. And now we know January 4th, Wrestle Kingdom, Tokyo Dome. This is pretty historic. I know that critics of New Japan would say, hey, this is not the promotion it once was. They don't have the momentum. They don't have the fanfare, and all of that may be true. However, nobody's going to care about any of that on January 4th at the Tokyo Dome when two of the most special performers in the history of New Japan step in the ring for a final time, Tanahashi and Okada. Is Okada the perfect final opponent? And how excited are you for this match?
There was all kind of, it feels like there was maybe, and that's our industry, the chatter, oh, Nakamura, this and that. I couldn't fathom it not being Okada. I'll just say that. And, look, the industry always has its ups and downs. We were talking about some of the matches earlier today, the Kurt match in 09, or whatever, any of those, the DDP match, or, the I'll call it how hot the business is. And there's, discussion is the boom over this or that. At the end of the day, it's ebbs and flows. But for the people in the arena this January 4th, it's going to be as special as if it's a complete sold out dome or it's half a house. It doesn't really matter. I think from a historical perspective, Conrad, when you really saw Tanahashi in his prime, and I'll just say Okada in his prime, the uniqueness of both of those guys, and Tanahashi playing the air guitar and the performance after performance and match after match and night after night, that guy, I mean, a machine. I know in America, it's it's a different culture, different time, the awareness, but trusted from old Double J in his day, in his home country, Tanahashi. To me, you can go back generation after generation after generation. I don't think there's been anybody better. He's right up there with the greats of the greats from Japan.
I, for one, am looking forward to Wrestle Kingdom. I'm looking forward to seeing Tanahashi's last match. And when I was first being introduced to Tanahashi, when you started working with them to allow there to be English commentary, thanks to our good old friend JR, I heard over and over again, people were trying to draw the analogy that, hey, Tanahashi is like the John Cena of New Japan. As you and I have been recording today, it's been revealed that tonight, as we're recording on Monday night, so by the time folks are listening to this, they already know what happened. John Cena tonight, as we're recording, is appearing in Boston for the very last time as a WWE in-ring performer. And there's been rumor and innuendo that he was going to be challenging Dominic Mysterio at Survivor Series for the Intercontinental title, but it's been revealed it's happening tonight in his hometown of Boston. This has to feel special. I was telling my wife earlier today that, hey, we're going to have to watch some Monday Night Raw tonight. And I knew the follow-up question, why? Because, Megan's not a huge wrestling fan. We don't watch a lot of wrestling together. And I said, well, it's John Cena's last match in his hometown. It would be like if the Nature Boy knew he was going to have one last match in Charlotte. It feels special. Can you even try to wrap your head around what a guy like John Cena might be thinking about tonight? Like if we were to tell you, okay, Jeff, tonight you're live on Netflix challenging for the Intercontinental title in your hometown of Nashville, and this will be the last time you wrestle in Nashville. When you just pile that on, man, that's kind of a head F, isn't it?
John is, man, you can't even put it into words. Pro's pro. He's going to go to work. He's coming in there to Beantown, and he's going to do what he's done for match after match, year after year after year. He's going to get the job done. Wow. Very interesting. Very interesting. They're doing it tonight, and that's his. Yeah. Boy, oh boy, there's going to be a lot of emotion in that arena.
Can't wait to see it. And I'm also wanting to talk to you about two other pieces of news. We'll hit some WWE news, and then we'll finish with some news that, well, you and I are probably going to get in trouble over.
Oh, come on.
I want to ask you about West Side Gun. I know that you had the pleasure of meeting West Side Gun a few times, and I know you've seen some of his shows with his promotion, Fourth Rope. I don't know that you're a big Griselda fan, and you were up on Benny the Butcher and everybody else, but he's been a very vocal, very loyal supporter to the WWF and AEW and just pro wrestling in general for a long time.
Pro wrestling.
Yes. And he's used a lot of samples in his rap career of old WWE audio that was fantastic and really added to my fandom. And it's really how I was introduced to him years ago. And now I guess that relationship has turned left with WWE. As the story goes, this past Friday night, he was escorted out of the building. WWE allegedly kicked West Side Gun out of a show and sent him a cease and desist over using wrestling references in his songs and album covers. He's had to since update the cover to his Heels Have Eyes trilogy. And he was quoted as saying, "I made WWE look cool when at the time people thought it was nerdy. You may have seen West Side Gun sitting front row at WWE or AEW shows. I mean, just blinged out, both wrists and the neck. He loves wrestling. He loves hip hop. And some of you who may be listening to this, who aren't necessarily familiar with his work, you may have seen in the past 30 days or so, there was a billboard of Virgil and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase in Times Square. That was West Side Gun's album cover. So he's clearly a big fan, and he's trying to promote a little bit, not just the product, but his love of wrestling. And feels like WWE says thanks, but no thanks. How do you feel about this, Jeff?
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
Stay too shot here. Is this a work?
Absolutely not. WWE sent me cease and desist for promoting their stuff as well.
It's not a work. If it's not a work, it's a head scratcher. Why? How is it hurting? And I need to be educated on this. How is it hurting Ari's IP?
I believe his attorneys would probably say, if we let him sample the audio for his albums, even though he's a fan and he's promoting it, then we've set a precedent legally, and now we have to let anyone sample it. If we let him use images that we own for his album cover and he didn't license them, then where does that stop? Yes, it's a nostalgia act, but what defines nostalgia? Could someone just put Cody Rhodes on the cover of their new album? I think legally that's what they would say, but it just feels like here's a guy who's actively spending $50,000 on suites and he's buying them from you. Here's a guy who's paying $5,000 a pop to sit front row, and he is celebrating the nostalgia. I understand there's proper channels and we got to do things the right way, but it does feel like kicking him out of the show. I don't know if that's the best idea.
That's why I'm screaming work, but I'm going to defer to you and say it's not a work, because there's a lot easier way to have lawyers and then move lawyers out of the way. And then I'm sure Westside has some reps and WWE has some internal PR reps, and say, hey man, here's kind of where we're at. We're in the business of making money and we want to make money. And so if you're going to be using us, you're going to have to start paying a licensing fee or whatever it may be. And if you don't, we understand that, but let's kind of go our separate ways. That's why, Conrad, there's got to be more to this story. It's a head shaker in so many ways. If it's not a work, then, and we've said it on here, I was essentially from the TKO day one and prior to that. Is this a part of the education of the industry that obviously A, they don't care about, but B, only time will tell? if this was a good decision or not. I just think if they really just matter of factly threw the guy out, I don't see the upside into that under any circumstance. We're in the business of, it's like the political thing. Stay away from it. Why piss off 50% of your audience? I don't know. I'll end with this. Something is not adding up at all. My family's promoted wrestling for 3 generations, and I know it's not the same on every case, but my God, can't you find a better solution than to just tell the guy you're out? And maybe there is more to this. Maybe he said, no, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to do it. And, you know, I don't know, but I don't know, Conrad. Not passing the smell test, my man.
All right, real quick, I want to remind everybody, especially this time of year, did you know at savewithconrad.com you can skip your next 2 house payments? That's right. You'll get a cheaper monthly payment and no payments until next year. How about a little Christmas vacation from house payments? That's right. No payments in November or December at savewithconrad.com.